All right, welcome to the HR TailorMade live series, Conversations with Consultants. I'm your host, Dr. Tiffany Slater. At HR TailorMade, we offer small businesses like you a full service HR department. We create employee handbooks, processes, and procedures, and guide leaders through complicated employee related matters. Our ultimate goal is to help you create a work environment that promotes joy for you and your employees. Part of creating joy for you and your employees, or for you as an owner, is knowing when to get help. With this series, we will provide you with the information and resources that you need to live the life um, or to lift the weight off your shoulders and to live the life that you've always dreamed of. My guest today can definitely relate and share great information to help us get our communications together. And more importantly, she's my business bestie. I want you to welcome my business bestie. She's the founder and CEO of Grounded Communications, Janice Person.
Here we go.
Welcome.
This is so much fun to be here. I love
Yes,
talking
it
with
is.
you all the time.
Well, I'm so happy that you were able to adjust your very busy schedule to share time with me. I've missed our last couple sessions because, I'm doing 20,000 things. Um,
It's the way it goes in the entrepreneurial space. All of us have so many things going. Sometimes we miss some of our favorites.
Absolutely. So, do me a favor, or do us a favor. Tell us who you are and what you do.
Yeah, so my name is Janice Person, as she said, and communications is one of those spaces that could mean a variety of things to people. And for me, I've worked in this genre for my entire career. Like I grew up loving to talk and write and take pictures and tell stories. And that's just followed me throughout my career. So I've worked in PR agencies, I've worked in small businesses, and I've worked for corporations. And a couple of years ago, I started my own company, and now I'm doing consulting. A lot of what I'm trying to do is bring sort of that knowledge that you get from being in a really big company on communications, which has a breadth of things, right? So press releases and social media and presentations. A lot of companies don't have the ability to have huge staffs, may not even be able to afford having one person dedicated that has the kind of depth of experience I have. And so I've been able to, as a consultant, come in and help people with those kind of things. And then like you, I have a few things that I just really am passionate about in my space of communications, and I do those as well.
That is awesome. So, Jan, so let's get into the nuts and bolts of communications, because I think that there are some misconceptions. I think people are like, what is that? Why, how is that different from marketing? Why do I need it? So, what is the difference between marketing and communications?
So when you think about communications, a lot of what I bring to the table is getting out of your own head and finding out what's going on with your audience, which audiences should you be thinking about, right? So with marketing, you're specifically talking to customers usually, or potential customers. With communications, a lot of times, if you only talk to your customers, then you're leaving these other audiences behind. It can be your employees, it can be the community you're in, it could be investors, it could be all kinds of things, right? So if you only have a marketing lens to communications, it can be questionable at sometimes. It's also issues management. There's so many different things that come into communications. And a lot of times people think it's just this one little thing. What you need to do is think about communications as a big piece of the business, right? So how do you tell your story? How do you tell a story that resonates with all those audience I was telling you about? So you don't have to go, oh, here's the way I talk to my employees. Here's the way I talk to my customers. Here's the way I talk to, because ultimately you get it all wrong and they don't understand it because some of them are multiple people, right? So You may have a
Right.
customer who's also an investor or something, right? And so then you're telling them two really different things, and it won't let your business grow and thrive. And so that's a piece of it. I hope that helps. I don't know. Sometimes I'm too close to communications to make sure I'm getting the story right.
Exactly. And you know, it's the same for me. I think I've told you before, as an HR person, I'm so close to it. I know all the HR jargon, but it's really hard for me to understand like what's a big deal for other people as it relates to HR. Because
Yeah.
for me, it's like I do this in my sleep. It's like
And you know, you get the text messages from me when you're not asleep going, "Hey, Tiffany."
right. And I, you know, so much people have. I never think that any question is a dumb question, but I do say to myself, like, oh, that's easy, you know, and it doesn't even dawn on me that it's because I've been doing it for so long. So
Exactly.
one of the things that comes up that I see often is when I see a person's title, I see communications marketing specialist or director or
Right.
consultant. Can you be both?
Yeah. I worked in marketing communications for a long time, right? And so that is really kind of focusing your message in that marketing kind of lens. And a lot of times, marketing and communications are going to work really closely together. Sometimes you'll see it as corporate marketing or corporate marketing and communications, right? It really depends on the size of the business in some ways, right?
Yeah.
At some companies, it's going to be the director of sales, marketing, communications, you know, and then you have somebody that's a director of like research, right? I mean, it really depends on the size of the business, the type of business.
Mhm.
To me, communications is one of those things that frequently it's easy to not have an immediate need for it. You have to
Mhm.
have somebody if you're doing a product, right? Like, or a service, you have to have some of those things. And if you have employees at some point, a lot of times communications gets overlooked until there's a big problem. And at
Mhm.
that point, it takes a little extra to get it fixed.
Yeah. And you know what? It's interesting you say that because I just had a situation the other day where I was saying to myself, a lot of people feel like HR people are magicians or HR consultants are magicians. Like you come to us when the house is on fire
Yeah.
and then you expect to, after the fire is out, you expect to have a perfectly built house. And it's like, no, you should have come to us before the
Exactly.
fire even started, before you even
Yeah.
started to get smoke. Because
And you're like me, you don't want to have that discussion when you're coming in because the fire is raging. So you're like, let's get the hoses, let's get whatever it is, right? And try and get that fire contained. But
yes,
at the end of the day, you still have to worry about the structural issues and all those kind of things. And it's the same thing with communications. A lot of times people don't know about either of our fields in depth until they've had an issue and they're in need of help. And that's
yes.
fine. I'm happy to do those things. I've done crisis projects with people, but it's also great when people can step back and go, oh, wait, before I get into a crisis, they also typically they don't necessarily have to spend as much for some of that stuff, right? Because suddenly if I have to put all clients on hold or work all weekend, you
Mm.
know, it's a different pay rate.
Uh, hello? I mean, I mean, that's important, you know, for people to know. So, Jan, you've talked a lot about crisis management. What is a crisis?
Anything that can threaten your business in whatever way, if it threatens you to have your employees walk out, if it threatens a product that you're selling, if it's something that is like an inherent threat to your business, then it's a crisis, right?
Yeah.
So it can be a fire. And for some companies, a fire is going to be a crisis. For others, it's an issue to manage today
Mm.
because they have so many other warehouses, they have so many other things. All their employees knew where to go and get out, right? So it's an issue for the day, but not a crisis. For somebody
Mhm.
who that's their only location, and they can't do anything online and they can't, that's a crisis.
Yeah.
Or if it threatens others, right? So if it
Yeah.
threatens your business or it threatens others, it becomes crisis mode.
Okay. So I'm gonna make an assumption. A crisis would be, let's say I have a clothing store. No, you know what? I work with mostly service industry
Yep.
people. So let's say you're a school district,
Oh
and
yeah.
or an
There's a few
accounting
crises
firm.
there.
A lot. Let's say you're an accounting firm. Let's go there. You're an accounting firm, and you woke up in the morning and there were tons of bad LinkedIn messages about you
Yeah.
and horrible Google reviews. Just like
Yeah.
all of a sudden, is that a crisis?
I can't tell you whether it's a crisis just by what you said,
Okay.
because a lot of people don't realize there's like networks of things that go specifically to try and damage your reputation.
Yeah.
And then there are like people who have valid complaints and they've tried to go through your channels and they've tried to get your help and nobody in your business responded. And now they're mounting a campaign. Well, that really is a crisis because you've had processes that should have helped along the way. If you wake up and the people that are talking about you are not known to you, then you need to do some things before you go into crisis management mode to learn and understand what's happening there.
Okay.
And it's funny because I worked in that space of digital so long. I mean, I did social media with Monsanto, and people in St. Louis are familiar with, we've had a few issues and a lot of misunderstandings of what our business was. But, you go in that online space, you can have things that are totally misrepresenting you. And if you have not already been telling your story, and if you haven't been building your kind of advocates, your champions, a lot of that is all communications. So if you haven't been doing those things, I love seeing that Alice Herndon is here. Yes. But if you haven't been doing those things to build your story and tell your story, then the only story anybody's going to hear is the negativity from others. So whether it's, it really does matter whether it's a crisis, if your company hasn't been doing things the right way versus it's unknown to you, it's something that's going on outside of your business and you just happen to be the target, which happens online. And then people they will offer you to get rid of all those problems for a fee. That's not what communications people really do. Those are people selling controversy. It's going to happen to some people. Most of us don't plan for that. And most of us don't ever have that happen.
Well, and I think the bottom line here is you always need to have a communications marketing person in your back pocket so that when something like this comes up, you can just pick up the phone and say, hey, do I need you or not? Can you direct me in the right direction or not?
And good planning on the front end helps you get some things out there proactively, right? So if you're a school district, look, she gonna say get in front of it, just like I'm saying in the process. If you're able to do that, if you're able to sit down with somebody before you're in the heat of the moment, a good communications person will start asking you about the types of issues, and they will ask you enough questions that you will suddenly go, I have seen this with competitors, or I've seen this with neighboring school districts, or whatever. And you start thinking about how that works. If you've already gone out and you say, here's our process, here's what we do as an accounting firm, and you've got those stories out there and you've got a webinar series or whatever it is to try and explain who you are, then other people will rise up with you when you say, I'm sorry, I haven't heard your complaint before. I would love to talk to you about it. Your advocates, your champions will come up and stand up with you and say, oh my gosh, I can't imagine. I'm certain that Tiffany and her team are going to want to handle this. They've always been so great when I've had any issues, right? Like it makes a big difference because part of the time what you're doing is thinking about how many other people are reading it, right? Yes. I mean, it starts getting you really nervous. And if you're if you go into something and you're really nervous and you don't have a plan, you rarely do your best work.
Yeah, I love that. When you don't have a plan, you rarely do your best work. I love
Exactly.
that. And Dr. Alice Herndon, she said, get in front of it. And that is true for many of the consultants that I have conversations with. It's important that you have people like me, an HR consultant, like Jan, a communications marketing person, insurance agents, a chef to help you when you know you're going to have a rough week so that you can remember to take care of yourself. And
Yes.
a business coach so that you can walk that journey with them. All of these individuals and consultants that we have conversations with, they're important allies. So even if you don't contract with people
Yep.
like us on a regular basis, look at Dr. Alice, she said all that.
I love it. Yeah, I think and yet, it's so easy for all of us to get focused in our little space and try and keep our head down, right? And just keep rolling. And every once in a while, and that's what you and I do, like every Friday, we try and step back and get out of that narrow focus and try and think of the bigger picture and think of long-term things and things that may be a little less comfortable for us, right? Like that aren't our happiest,
Yeah.
And those things really do help if you have a plan of how you're going to get to those other pieces and how you can start connecting. I have a lot of clients that I've only talked to for a few hours, a few emails here and there, but they've told me what they think might happen, and we've gamed out a couple of options on how that could work. So if they get that opportunity, or if that issue comes up, either way, they're prepared to maximize the opportunities and to minimize some of those challenges.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, we can talk shop all day. Let's get to the juicy stuff.
Love it.
So Jan and I are business besties. So I'm just going to let you in on our world. Like Jan said, we talk every Friday, 11:30 to 12:30 Central Standard Time. Sometimes we literally just sit there, have lunch, and shoot the breeze, review the week. Nothing formal. It is a time that we both look forward to every single week, because at the end of the day, I know that Jan, and actually there are three of us, it's me, Jan, and Jody. I know that they want me to win, and they know that we want them to win. And so we just have fun supporting each other.
We do, but we also kind of help each other go, I know that's uncomfortable for you, but last week you said you were gonna, and so did you do it? Because I know it's uncomfortable. So is there something I can do to help you get it done? Like, how is this going to work? Right. So I think that really, having somebody who holds you accountable, but doesn't make it like you have a deadline, and it's really, because a lot of what we're working on aren't deadline things. They're things that need to happen, but it's not like you have to get your taxes in by this date. Right. Mm-hmm. That's what, how many people wait and don't do anything in accounting until they start getting close to that date, right? It's it happens. And all of us do it in some areas of our business, right? Like, let's face it. But if you don't even have that whole area of your business and know that there are deadlines coming and they suddenly hit you, and that's what we're trying to do, is go, well, wait a minute, have you thought about this? Mm-hmm. I saw so-and-so doing this online. Did you get a catch at that? Because it seems to relate what you were talking about last week. And so having extra eyes and ears for our business. Yeah. And we met thanks to the WEBO program, right? So we were both trying to figure out our businesses. We were both trying to start a new company. And so it's great to find somebody who's not a competitor or whatever. We really complement each other so well. Yeah. We just, 2 years later, we still in class together.
Hello, right, and still learning from each other, which is a wonderful thing. And you brought up the WEBO program. WEBO is called Workshops in Business Operations, and I believe it is only offered in the whole state of Missouri by the Onyx Business
Yep.
consulting firm, and that is owned by Dr. Alice Herndon. We took it when it was under the Grace Hill Women's Business Center umbrella.
Exactly.
But now Dr. Alice Herndon of Onyx Business Solutions offers WEBO, Workshops in Business Operations. So if you are new to business, or if you've been in business for a while and you've never had any, operations training, really, that is a great program for you. So we, as you can tell, we got a lot from it, and we got each other from it. And you cannot
Yeah.
my business bestie.
I have invited Jody in, and we've had a few others that joined us for short term and stuff. But it is one of those things that we just clicked early on.
Yeah.
You do things that are so different from what I do. I mean, I ask you about the silliest things about me hiring an intern for the summer, right? Like, I mean, it's the stuff that I go, you used to have a corporate HR department that handled all of those things for you. And I don't even remember some of what they were handling, right? And so knowing you have somebody to ask that to, whether it's on a paid structure or like you and I, where it's a trade structure, you and I are both offering each other's business some of that help.
Absolutely. Well, I love it. I so appreciate your time and having this conversation with you. It's always a good time. So
thank you.
I really enjoyed chatting with you. And thanks again to all who were watching. I am Dr. Tiffany Slater of HR TailorMade, the HR solution for small businesses. Learn more about our process in the link below. If you are ready to get the help you deserve, be sure to schedule a 30-minute strategy session over at hrtailormade.com today. And don't forget to turn on your notifications to get the alert every time that we go live. In the next episode, we will be talking with Mr. Howard Palmer about all things insurance. So until next time, be kind to yourself, and thanks for joining us.